Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
A Time for True show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to A Time for True show. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, and it's a pleasure to be back with you again today. And we're going to deal with something very important: a person's smile, a person's confidence, their ability to speak well, to feel comfortable in social groups, to enjoy their meals, and to overcome, the loss of dentition of teeth. They're very important because they're what the people see when you smile, when you speak, when you laugh. And so tonight we're going to present hope. We're going to present hope on how to regain that smile, how to regain your ability to enjoy what you're having for a meal, your favorite food, your favorite dessert, and how to get back your teeth, your bone. And we're going to talk specifically about cases that are very advanced because they require what's called sinus grafting. Sinus grafting is bone grafting that is necessary when the person has lost a lot of bone, has been wearing a denture or a removable denture, or maybe their bridge fails and the dentist tells them, well, you're going to need to have something that comes in and out of your mouth at nighttime, and the person doesn't want it. So we're going to talk about sinus grafting. And engineer, if you put up the first slide, and I'm located in Bayside. I've been there now for about 40 years doing periodontal, dental implant, and laser treatments for patients in which we treat concurrently with the general dentist. So when you come to see me as a specialist in periodontics and implants and laser, I work with your dentist. I don't take the place of your dentist, but I work in coordination with him so that we can plan how to get back your teeth, your smile, your ability to eat. Here I was in Houston, if you go back to that slide, and here I was in Houston at the International College of Dentists meeting, where I was very honored to be awarded into their college as a fellow. A great event with many, many dentists of high integrity from all across the world. Was very, very gratifying. If we go to the next slide. And here is what we're going to be speaking about. We're going to be speaking about conservative bone grafting, sinus grafting. And here you see on the upper left, the person has lost their molar, and you can see that black space, which is their sinus. Now what happens as a surgeon, I'm able, as you see in the middle slide, to place bone graft material. And that bone graft material increases the dimension, which allows us to have an implant. You see the implant there in the center slide. And then when you go down to the lower right slide, you see not only the bone that's matured and healed, how we've increased the bone, how the implant is solid, but also the crown. And you see the crown in place, and you see how that's all worked out from the upper left down to the lower right. The time span that you're talking about is approximately, I would say, about 8 months or so, from the part where person comes in to where they finish with their bone grafting, have their implant, and see their dentist for the crown. Next slide, engineer. Now, many times you probably have heard or had patients hear from their dentist, or have a friend maybe who felt very uncomfortable, and they said, well, you know, I let it go too long. I don't have the bone anymore. I'm not going to be able to actually have teeth. I'm going to have dentures. They were very unhappy. And so I wanted to show you this particular slide because on the upper left, you can see how the bone is quite narrow. Now the problem is when the bone is narrow, the person is going to have difficulty in having implant placement because an implant needs a certain amount of width in order to go in properly and to be supported properly. So what you can see on the lower right is actually the same patient. And what I've done on that lower right is I've actually increased the bone. You can see the increase in the width of the bone done by what's called bone grafting. And the bone grafting increases the bone so that, yes, as you can see on the slide, we can actually grow the bone back. We can get the person ability to have their teeth again and have their smile back again. Next slide, engineer. Now here is another case, and here you see the case. You can see on the upper left how little bone there is, very dark. And in the next slide to the right, you see how I start incrementally putting in more and more bone. You see that on the middle upper slide, and you see on the upper right slide, again, you see more bone graft, and you see how it's becoming more grayish white. The reason being that I put more bone for that person. As you get to the lower left slide, you can see that in that bone that we've actually created, now we're placing the implant. We place the implant, and you see to the right, you see now, about 4 or 5 months later, how the dentist has placed the cap. That cap is what you see there in between the teeth now, being held in by the implant, and that cap is something that's going to allow that person to have their smile back again. Next slide, engineer. Now here's another example, and here you see with that indicator on the left how little bone there actually was. And you can see how we increase the bone, it becomes wider, and we allow the implant to be placed. Next slide. Now let's take a look at this slide. This was a woman who came to us, very distraught. You can see all the darkness on the upper slides where it says extraction bone grafting. Person had a lot of infection. Infection shows up on an x-ray as darkness, as you can see there. You see a lot of darkness. And so unfortunately, she was going to lose a lot of teeth. She had been to other offices and been told that she had to have dentures. But our office is specialized in growing the bone back, growing the gum back, and setting the foundation so a person can have implants. There you see on the middle slide how we filled in those dark defects with bone. And now once that bone was healed, which occurred in about 4 months or so, on the bottom slide, you see the implants that were placed in that healthy bone. The implants are just like teeth. They feel like your teeth. You're not even aware you have them. And they function like teeth. You clean them like teeth. And there you see them holding the bridge work that you see in place that was done by her general dentist. And she was very, very happy. She couldn't believe that she had her smile back again. She didn't have to go through dentures. And she never went through dentures through the whole process because we made her a temporary that was a fixed temporary so she wouldn't have to go through a denture. She was very, very pleased. Next slide. Now, this I wanted to show you because this was a person who actually just went through the procedure. This is only a minute or so after the procedure. And you can see how happy she was. It's not a painful procedure. It's done with local Novocaine. It's done in the dental office, as you can see there. And she was very, very surprised. She was very surprised that she had no pain. She didn't experience very much. She was very frightened when she came in, like most people are. But we were able to provide her what she wanted. Next slide. And here you see success from one of our patients who've been with us so many years, and her experience in having dental implants in our office, and her surprise that it had gone so much easier than she expected. It's very gratifying to be able to help people and they don't go through what they think they're going to go through, and it's a positive experience, which is what we strive to create at our office. Next slide. Now here on the upper left, you see a man. Again, he has a lot of darkness around the teeth. That's because he has a lot of gum disease. What is gum disease? Gum disease is where you actually lose the gums, but you lose the gums because you've lost the bone, because the bone is actually what supports the thin layer of the gum. And so the darkness comes when the bone is lost. Now the bone is lost, the teeth get loose. You see that he had the white on the teeth. Those are crowns, those are caps. And what happens is the caps get loose because there's a lot of bone loss. So unfortunately, he had to lose his teeth. Like you see on the upper right of the screen, we had to remove the teeth. But then what we do, as you see in the middle slide, we take and we graft the bone. We do a sinus graft, and there in the middle x-ray of that slide, you see the tremendous amount of bone that we've actually grown for this person. On the lower left, you can see how then we place implants into that bone. And then on the lower right, you see how those implants that we placed, we now utilize and we make a bridge. And he was extremely happy. He was able to eat anything he wanted. He didn't have to have dentures. And he smiled. He smiled because he was happy. And it was very, very, again, very gratifying. It's really a very, very fulfilling experience when you're able to give people back not only their smile and their bite, but their confidence. Next slide. Now, this is a young woman. And as you can see on the upper left, she had lost a molar, and she had lost something called the premolar, which is the smaller teeth in front of the molars. And she didn't really want to shave her teeth down to make bridge work because, she doesn't have any teeth to actually chew with, and she wanted to have teeth. So she didn't really want to go through the bridge work. So here on the upper right, you see us placing her implants, and you see the first implant has been placed, and then you see that we've done a sinus bone graft. And there you see the sinus bone graft to the right of the implant on the upper right x-ray. And this is right at the time of the surgery. It's an immediate process. It's a very conservative procedure. The bone is placed by a little opening in the crest, and it's placed into that, and you see that little ball of bone that actually is placed. That's the bone graft. Now, when you go down to the lower left slide, now you see how the bone has matured, how it's become part of her normal jawbone. And you see the two implants that were placed, and these two implants were utilized by her dentist to make those crowns, those caps that you see on the lower left next to the number 45. So this is a sinus graft, very conservative, and done in one day, and then just letting it heal, leaving it alone, and the dentist going in approximately 4 months or so later to put the crowns on. It's called the subantral because the antrum is a sinus in Latin, Sub because it's below. Osteotome is the instrument that we use to put the bone graft in, and that's where that Latin name comes from. Next slide. Now again, this is another example. Again, it's called the subantral osteotomy. Sub, below the sinus, the antrum. Osteotomy being that we're molding the bone, we're healing the bone, we're giving this person a chance to have teeth again. So we'll start on the upper left. You see the darkness. Why the darkness? There's no bone. That's why this person was told by her dentist that she would have to have dentures. She didn't want to have dentures, so she sought me out because I've been doing this now over 40 years, and she wanted to have teeth. So we explained to her, you'll need a bone graft, which is what you see there on the upper middle x-ray. And you can see how in the bone graft, you see all that grayish white that wasn't there on the upper left because we've actually grafted the bone. That's the day of the surgery. And then on the upper right, which is the same day of the surgery, now you see the two implants. And the implants have been placed into that bone. So now at that point, the person goes home. We see them for a follow-up 2 or 3 weeks later. Then we let it go. And then on the lower left x-ray, you actually see the implants about 5 months later. And you can see how the bone has matured, how it's changing its color, its form. And you can see on the lower right, the actual teeth, which are called caps or crowns, which her dentist placed for her. So she went from a person who was going to have removable dentures, have something with metal in her palate, have altered taste sensation, because the problem with dentures, even though they're very economical, aside from the fact that you have to take them out at night, they cover your palate, and so your taste is not the same. You can't enjoy the food the same because now your taste buds on the palate are covered. And the other problem is that it's grabbing onto the teeth. So when you have removable dentures, the teeth that are holding these dentures will get loose. And the reality is that eventually they'll lose more teeth and be in a worse predicament because now they'll want to have implants, but they may be even worse off. So if you've gone to your dentist and you've been told that you're going to have dentures, what I would recommend for you to do is immediately seek an appointment at my office. We'll evaluate you. We'll try to get your bone grafted back again while it's still possible. There are some patients who come in, it's very late. I had one recently, and I wasn't able to help this person. The bone was much too resorbed, which means that it melted away, because when you wear dentures, over a period of time, the pressure on the bone makes the bone disappear. So you don't want to let that happen to you. You want to come in time. Let's go to the next slide. So here's an example of a young man. He was in his 40s. And what happened on the upper left, the molar that he had root canal on had decay. A lot of decay. And so what happened is he had a bridge here that failed because the molar, when it decayed, it let go. The front part of the bridge, which you see there on the upper left slide, upper left x-ray, is still fine. And that one we're going to be able to fix with a new crown. But the problem is that the molar tooth is very decayed and it's going to be very difficult to do anything with, unfortunately. And it's going to require an extraction because of the extent of the decay that this person had. So what we did is we took the molar out, and the same day as we removed the molar, you see how on the upper right picture, that upper right x-ray, you can see the little balls of bone grafts above the implants. They're like a halo around the implants on the upper right. That was done the day of the extraction. Again, this is done with local Novocaine. There's no pain, and you don't need to be put out with general anesthesia. It's not a dangerous procedure. and it's very conservative. That's why it's called conservative sinus bone grafting. And on the bottom is the result a few years later, because what I want to show you is that how the bone heals, how it stays stable, how the person's investment has worked out. Because if you did something that was only temporary and you went through so much, that really wouldn't be very beneficial to you. But this is something that lasts over years, could last a lifetime. And here on the lower x-ray, you see how much we healed the bone to be able to place those 2 implants and make that bridge that he has in his mouth now. He's functioned with that bridge over 30 years. Very, very happy, young guy. He's not so young anymore because his time has gone on, but he's very happy because he's had his teeth all these years. He didn't have to go through something removable. Next slide. For those of you now who've been looking at this and say, what do I do? How do I get started? Well, there you see the email, the office email. There's our website if you want to get more information, or you can email us at that Gmail and let us know you want an appointment. If you don't like using email and you want to call us, you can use 718-229-3838. I'll repeat it for you. You can call us if you'd like. 718-229-3838. Let's go to the next slide. Now, why this slide? Is because when we work in our office, what we strive for is not just to get you implants, but to get you a smile that you're happy with. Because that's really what you're after. The implants are the foundation, but when you buy a house, you want to buy the house that you want. You want the den to be the den that you want. Maybe you want a jacuzzi. Maybe you want 4 bedrooms. Maybe you want to have a certain way for the kitchen to look, certain appliances. That's what you're buying, is the house of your dreams. So with your mouth, you're not buying a house, but you want a smile that you're proud of, that you want to have. You want to rehabilitate your ability to be confident with yourself. And the mouth is a very important factor in our face. So I throw this slide in and included it because it's one of the patients that we treated. And you would be hard pressed to find out where we did what we did, which is exactly the point. In fact, when patients come to our office, we have many, many photos of patients that we treated over the years. And we usually show the patient, okay, where are the implants? Where do we do the bone grafting? Where do we do the gum grafting? And the patients really can't tell. And that's exactly the point, because when you come, you want the result, and you don't want anybody else to be able to tell. And so this young person, because unfortunately young people need implants also, they fall, maybe they have a root canal problem, maybe they crack a tooth eating some nuts or something hard, or maybe they just develop gum problems. And so you can be rehabilitated. You can get your smile back. It's not something that's the end of the world. Next slide. We are very honored at our office to be awarded with the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. Our office dedicates a lot of time to our community, to our patients. We run a nonprofit drug education program to make our community, our youth safe. And so recently in Washington, D.C., at the National Press Club, we were honored to be given this Presidential White House Lifetime Award. And, we have it in our waiting room and display it with great pride. Next slide. This is another success from another one of our patients. And really that's what it's all about, because we want the patient to be happy. We want them to get the result that they want. And this person was very surprised. They were very fearful. They didn't know what was going to happen, if they were going to go through a lot of suffering. and they were very happily surprised that didn't occur, and they were able to get their smile back and not go through what some of their friends had said. The experience at our office worked out very well for them. And that's the other thing I want to relay during this talk of the bone grafting, of the sinus grafting, of the gum grafting, the implants, is that not only can it be done, but it can be done very conservatively with local Novocaine, with some discomfort actually, obviously afterwards, but nowhere near what anyone expects. With one implant, many patients really don't even feel anything. A funny story, one man one time told his wife that I didn't do the procedure. I only charged her the money, and she started laughing. And she goes, I saw the implant on the screen, and she relayed the story to me when she came in at the checkup, because she basically had no pain. And when she finally got her tooth, he really believed that we had done the implant for her. So that was a beautiful story. Next slide, please. Here you see Linda is very happy. And this is in our waiting room. That slide that you see on the wall, that banner behind us from Gandhi, to be the example we wish to see in the world, which is our mantra in the office. We like to give patients what they come for and have integrity, so you can feel safe, so you can relax, because when you're relaxed and you feel comfortable, everything else goes very, very well, very easily. Next slide, Buddha. This was another event, again, where our office was honored, and for excellence and for integrity. We're an office that for 40 years in the metro New York area has been known for its quality of work, for its integrity, for its honesty. At times people come to me and the work can't be done, and I tell them. If it can be done, we do it. If we can't, we tell them. And the main thing is to make sure we tell patients the truth and try to help them the best way that we can, to the highest degree that we can. That's really what we go for. And Buddha, if you go to the next slide, I think we're basically done at this point, and we'll put up our contact information. If you want to get us by phone, 718-229-3838, 718-229-3838. It's not hopeless. There's always chance. See your dentist, get his opinion. We'll be happy to work with your dentist, give you your smile back, give you your ability to eat back, give you your confidence back, and live the way you really want to. We hope you enjoy this show. We hope that you understand now what's available to you, and you can move forward. Have a very good day. We'll see you again next time on the next episode of A Time for Truth show.
This show was sponsored by A Time for Truth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet